The night began like any other shift for Aiden Cole, an Earth engineer posted at Outpost Vega 3, a lonely metal ring above a quiet alien world. Outside the windows, the gas giant turned slowly, painted with clouds the color of rust and ice. Inside, the corridors hummed with machines older than the peace treaty that kept humans and Valeri from tearing each other apart again. Aiden loved the silence more than the company. The peace between their species was fragile, built on rules and signatures, not trust. He preferred tools to diplomats. Machines made sense. They broke, and he fixed them. People broke too, but never in ways he understood. That night, he was supposed to check the main energy core before the next rotation. The monitors had shown small fluctuations, nothing serious, but enough to make him grab his toolkit. When he reached the generator chamber, he froze. Someone was already there. She was tall, wrapped in silver armor that shimmered faintly in the light of the plasma conduits. Her hair was braided with thin metal cords, her eyes a strange violet that seemed to glow faintly under the shadows. Aiden recognized the insignia on her shoulder. Valerie Warrior Corps. "Engineer Cole," she said, her voice sharp yet low. "You are late." He blinked. "Wasn't told I'd have company. I was assigned for security," she replied, crossing her arms. "You humans call me Kareth?" Aiden tried not to stare, but it was difficult. The Valeri were legendary soldiers, fierce, disciplined, and distrustful of humans. Few ever served on mixed crews. "Security?" he asked. "Expecting trouble?" "Always expect trouble when humans build things that glow this much," she said flatly, though a small curve touched her mouth. He smirked. "Guess I'll take that as a compliment." She didn't answer, but she didn't leave either. When he opened a panel, she stepped closer, watching the stream of light shift through the power lines. Her presence filled the space, quiet, alert. It's unreadable. Then the alarms screamed, the floor trembled, and the lights blinked red. Outside, something vast cracked through the gas clouds. "A meteor storm," sensors said. Dozens of fragments striking the outer hull. Power surges hit the grid like thunder. "Seal the chamber," Kareth ordered, slamming the emergency hatch. "System integrity dropping?" "I see it," Aiden shouted, hands flying over the console. The generator lines flickered wildly. "If the containment fails, the outpost will fry." Kareth pulled off her armored gloves and joined him. Her claws sparked against the control panel as she typed strange Valeri commands into the interface. For a heartbeat, their hands brushed. Her skin was warm, warmer than human. Together, they rerouted the power flow, sealing each conduit before it blew. Adon's fingers ached. Sweat ran down his neck. The air smelled like metal and ozone. Kareth moved like a predator, swift, precise, her breath steady even as sparks rained around them. When the storm hit full force, the chamber plunged into near darkness. Only the emergency lamp lit the room, bathing her in amber light. Her eyes caught the glow, fierce and focused. "Manual override?" she barked. Aiden pulled the lever. The generator roared, then stabilized with a deep hum that rattled their bones. The readings leveled. They stood there in silence, breathing hard. Kareth exhaled slowly. "You did not freeze." "Most humans freeze," he gave a half smile. "Didn't have time. You yelled too loud." Her lips curved slightly. "You listen well for a fragile species." "Fragile," he said. "You try fixing reactors with human hands. You'll see who's fragile." For the first time, she laughed, a rough, low sound that made the chamber seem less cold. The storm outside still roared, lightning curling across the distant horizon. But inside, the hum of power felt almost calm. Aiden checked the readings again. "We'll be stuck here till it passes. Could be ours," Kareth nodded. "Then we wait." She removed her helmet, setting it aside. Without it, her face looked younger, though marked by faint silver scars that traced her temples. Aiden offered her a canteen. She hesitated before taking it, as if the gesture itself was foreign. "You trust easily," she said after a sip. "Only when I'm locked in a room with someone who could snap me in half," he replied. Her eyes softened, just slightly. "Then you are either brave or foolish." "Both," he said. That's what they say about humans. They sat beside the reactor, the noise of the storm fading into a distant rumble. She told him she had been bred for war literally, born in a Valeri gene forge, raised among warriors who saw mercy as weakness. Yet she had volunteered for this peace mission, not out of love for humans, but curiosity. You build, she said. Even after you destroy. That is strange, Gaiden shrugged. It's what we do. Keep fixing things, even when they break again. She studied him for a long moment. Perhaps that is strength. Hours passed. The storm slowly weakened. In the dim light, exhaustion settled over them. Kareth leaned against the wall, her armor dented and streaked with soot. Aiden sat nearby, watching the faint pulse of the generator. He didn't know why he felt calm, maybe because, for once, someone saw him not as a human technician, but as a person. She didn't talk much, but every word she said seemed to cut straight through the noise. Why did you come to this outpost? She asked quietly. Because no one else wanted to, he said with a smile. And I like quiet places. Machines don't argue. Kareth tilted her head. You hide from your kind? Maybe you. I was sent here because I questioned my orders, she admitted. My superiors said peace with humans was weakness. I said it was strategy. They said that made me soft. You don't seem soft to me, he said. Her eyes met his. For a long moment, neither looked away. The hum of the generator filled the silence between them, steady and slow like a heartbeat. When the final surge flickered through the core, the lights went out completely. Only the emergency lamp on the floor remained, casting them in faint gold. She moved closer, her expression unreadable. Fear makes you small, she said softly. But you stand without fear. I'm shaking on the inside, he admitted. She smiled, then an honest, tired smile. Then you are brave. Outside, the storm began to clear. The sky beyond the window opened into a field of stars. For a moment, everything felt still. Later, Aiden would never clearly remember how the quiet turned into closeness, how a simple touch became something deeper, something that burned and healed at the same time. There were no words, only the sound of breathing, the warmth of two people who were never meant to understand each other, finding understanding anyway. When dawn light spilled through the thin windows, Kareth was already standing by the hatch, her armor sealed again. The storm was gone. Aiden rose slowly, confused by the ache in his chest. You're leaving? I must, she said. Our patrol leaves orbit within the hour. He stepped forward. Will I see you again? Kareth hesitated. For a moment, her violet eyes softened. The stars are wide. But remember this night, Aiden Cole. It was not weakness. Then she turned and walked through the hatch, her silhouette fading into the glare of the rising light. He stood there long after she was gone, the generator humming behind him, the air still carrying the faint scent of metal and ozone. Outside, the planet turned silently beneath the outpost. That morning, Aiden sent his daily report to command. Power core stable. No casualties. He didn't mention the storm that had shaken the outpost. He didn't mention the alien warrior who had stayed behind with him. He kept that memory locked away. Impossible and real. He didn't know it yet, but the universe had already begun to move again. Somewhere beyond the edge of known space, a Valeri warship changed course. And months later, the warrior he thought he'd never see again would return carrying something that looked just like him. He would be checking wires, fixing power conduits, drinking cold coffee in the mess hall, and then suddenly, the memory would hit him. That quiet moment when she smiled, the strange warmth in her eyes, the way she said his name like it meant something more, but life on Outpost Vega 3 never stopped for memories. Peace talks continued. Cargo shuttles came and went, and the humans and Valeri aboard the outpost kept pretending the old wars were truly over. Aiden tried to bury himself in work. He requested extra maintenance duties, long shifts, and offer repair tasks. The outpost's hum became his background music. The metal corridors, his whole world. Still, sometimes when he looked at the stars beyond the glass, He caught himself wondering what corner of the galaxy Kareth was in. He told himself it was foolish. She was a Valeri warrior, sworn to duty, and he was an engineer, ordinary and replaceable. Whatever had happened that night couldn't have meant the same to her. Then, one day the sensors sounded a high-priority alert. A ship was approaching. No signal code, no clearance, no identity beacon. Adon was in the control deck when the alarms went off. Officers ran to their stations. Guards checked weapons. Commander Lewis barked orders to scramble intercept drones. "Unknown vessel, entering restricted orbit," one tech called out. No response to hails. The screen showed a small shuttle Valerie design, black hull, fast engines, running silent. Lewis's jaw tightened. "Get me defense authorization. No one lands without clearance." Before Aiden could speak, the shuttle began slowing. Its engines flickered. It was landing directly in the docking bay. Security teams rushed down. Aiden followed, heart pounding. The air hissed as the bay doors opened. The small ship settled onto the deck, smoke rising from its scorched thrusters. The outer ramp lowered with a groan. Everyone went silent. Standing at the top of the ramp was Kareth. But she was not wearing armor this time. Her face was pale, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion. And in her arms, wrapped in a soft thermal blanket, was a small child. The child looked part Valeri, faint markings across the skin. Soft pointed ears, yet the face was unmistakably human. Aiden's breath caught. He forgot how to move. Kareth stepped forward slowly, ignoring the guards who aimed their weapons. Her gaze found Aiden through the crowd. She whispered his name, the same way she had that night. "Aiden Cole," the commander frowned. "You know this Valeri?" Aiden hesitated. "Yes, I do." Kareth's voice shook slightly. "We need your help." The room fell into stunned silence. Commander Lewis ordered everyone else to clear the bay except for 2 guards. Kareth stood straight despite the weight in her arms. She looked thinner, weaker, yet still carried the same fierce pride. "What is this about?" Lewis demanded. "You breach a human installation without permission." "You bring a child, she is mine," Kareth interrupted, her voice sharp. Then, after a pause, she looked at Aiden. "Ours." The word hit harder than a shockwave. Aiden stared, unable to breathe. "What do you mean?" "The child," Kareth said softly. "She carries both of us. Human and Valeri blood." I did not believe it possible. Neither did they. Lewis turned to Aiden, suspicion rising. "You'd better explain this." But Iadon had no words. He stepped forward slowly. The child blinked at him with eyes that were bright blue, his own color. Kareth's voice grew quieter. "The Dominion wants her gone. They call her corruption. It's an error. I disobeyed orders and ran." Aiden looked at her in disbelief. "You risked your life to bring her here?" "I risked more," she whispered. "They sent hunters after me. I can't go back. They will come for her. For both of us." Lewis pressed his fingers against his temple. "This is not a diplomatic problem. This is a crisis. If the Valeri learn you're here, they already know," Kareth said. "Their scouts will find my ship within a day," Lewis sighed. "You can't stay here. If we shelter you, they'll call it a violation of the treaty." Aiden stepped forward. "Then hide her. Hide both of them. I'll take responsibility." Lewis looked at him sharply. "You'd risk your career, maybe your life for this." Aidon's voice trembled, but didn't break. "Yes." Kareth's eyes met his, full of something that looked like both gratitude and sorrow. "I hoped you would say that." They moved her to the medical bay under a false quarantine order. Aiden helped every step of the way, pretending to check the ship's data while actually deleting its transponder logs. The baby slept most of the time, tiny hands curling around Kareth's armor strap. Aiden watched, still trying to understand what was real. "You named her?" he asked quietly. Kareth nodded. "Lyra, Lyra," he repeated softly. The name felt warm in his mouth. "She's beautiful." Kareth looked down at the child. "She has your eyes." Aiden smiled weakly. "Lucky kid." Kareth's expression softened. "I did not know humans could be so humble, okay? Only when we're scared," he said. Her face grew serious. "Aiden, I came because there is nowhere else. The Dominion would take her for study. Your people might do the same, but I will not let them touch her. We'll find a way, he said. There is no way, she replied. There is only running. That night, as the outpost lights dimmed for rest cycle, Aiden sat beside her in the medical bay. The child slept between them, wrapped in soft fabric. Outside, the planet's clouds glowed faintly under the starlight. Kareth spoke quietly. When I left, I thought I could protect her alone. But they hunted us through 3 systems. I hid in asteroid belts, changed ships, begged smugglers for passage. Every time, they found us again. I thought I would die before reaching your world. Aidan clenched his fists. Then you made it. That's what matters. She shook her head. They will follow. I have broken their laws. You must not be seen with me. Too late for that, he said with a small smile. For the first time in months, Kareth's shoulders eased slightly. You have not changed. Neither have you, he said. Still giving orders, she laughed quietly. It was the same laugh he remembered from that night, low, tired, but real. Then the outpost lights flickered again, a signal Aiden recognized instantly. Unauthorized proximity alert. He ran to the nearest terminal. Multiple ships incoming. Small, fast. Valeri signatures. Kareth's eyes hardened. They have found me. Aiden turned to her. Then we leave now. Where? She asked. Anywhere but here? He opened the storage lockers, pulling out a maintenance suit for her and a small supply pack. They wrapped the baby in thermal blankets. Kareth hesitated only once, looking down at Lyra. If they catch us, she said, they will take her. They will erase her name. They won't. Aiden said firmly. Not while I'm breathing. They slipped into the lower maintenance tunnels as the alarms blared across the outpost. Aiden led them through service shafts, using access codes only engineers knew. Behind them, heavy footsteps echoed security teams moving. Confused by the sudden lockdown, they reached the hangar where old cargo pods were kept. Aiden opened one and began booting its systems. Kareth climbed in, holding Lyra close. Aiden strapped himself beside her. The pod engines groaned to life, shaking the deck. Over the radio, Lewis's voice cracked through. Cole, what are you doing? You'll never survive out there. Aiden took a deep breath. Guess I'll find out. He hit the release. The pod shot from the dock, spinning through the thin upper atmosphere before stabilizing. Stars exploded across the view screen. Behind them, Outpost Vega 3 grew smaller and smaller. Kareth stared out silently. You left everything. So did you, Aiden said. They drifted through the dark, the engines quiet. Lyra stirred and let out a small sound. Aiden reached over, brushing her tiny hand with one finger. She's strong, he whispered. Kareth smiled faintly. She has both worlds inside her. For the first time, Aiden saw not the warrior, but the woman, tired, scarred, but unbroken. And he realized something deeper than fear or duty had tied them together. Hours later, as they hid behind the shadow of a drifting asteroid, Aiden looked at her again. Where now? Kareth studied the stars. There is a colony world far from both our governments. No law, no patrols. We could raise her there. He nodded slowly. Then that's where we go.
How?
The child shifted again, opening her eyes for the first time. Aiden felt his heart stop. Those eyes, his eyes, stared up at him, bright and curious. Kareth whispered, She recognizes you. Aiden smiled through the ache in his chest. Then she's smarter than both of us. Outside, the endless dark stretched on. 2 fugitives and a child, running from empires that feared what they represented. For Aiden, it no longer mattered what either side thought. All he cared about was keeping them safe. He looked at Kareth, who had closed her eyes briefly in exhaustion. For a moment, he let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, love could survive even between worlds, and somewhere. Far behind them, the first Valeri pursuit ship broke through the asteroid field. Following the trail they had left behind, the chase had begun. The small cargo pod drifted through the asteroid belt like a wounded bird. Its engines hummed weakly, its power cells almost dry. Inside, Aiden Cole sat at the control panel, eyes fixed on the radar screen that blinked red again and again. Each blink meant danger. "They're still behind us," he said quietly. Across from him, Karth held Lyra close. The child slept, unaware of the war that might come for her. Kareth's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, calm but sharp. "Valerie scouts," she murmured. "They will not stop. I know their ways. I used to be one of them." Aiden's hands tightened on the controls. "Then tell me how to lose them." "There is a storm field ahead," she said, pointing at the map. "Ion winds. Dangerous. But if we go through, their sensors will fail." He nodded. "Dangerous sounds normal by now." The pod tilted sharply as he steered toward the storm. Outside, lightning tore through space like burning rivers. The hull shuddered, lights flickering. Kareth braced her arm around the wall, shielding the baby with her body. "Hold together, old ship," Aiden muttered. They plunged into the storm. Static filled the cabin, systems screamed, sparks jumped across the dashboard. Kareth's voice cut through the noise. "Left thruster, overloading." "I see it," Aiden yelled, slamming switches. The pod jerked violently. Kareth fell forward, grabbing a strap to keep from hitting the floor. The storm roared louder, like 1,000 voices whispering all at once. Then just as suddenly, silence. The lightning faded behind them. The radar went clear. Kareth exhaled. "We are through." Aiden leaned back, exhausted. "And they lost us." "For now," she looked at him, eyes softening. "You are not trained for war, yet you fight like one who has seen too much of it." He smiled faintly. "You told me once humans build even after they destroy." "Guess that includes running," Kareth almost laughed. "You still make strange sense." For a brief moment, the tension faded. Lyra stirred, letting out a soft sound. Aiden looked down at her and felt a wave of calm wash through him. In that tiny life, fragile and new, there was something stronger than fear. They drifted through the quiet region, beyond the storm, resting and repairing what they could. Aiden fixed the oxygen filters while Kareth checked weapon systems. She carried herself with the same steady discipline. But there was a gentleness now that hadn't been there before. He watched her as she rocked the child to sleep. "You ever think you'd end up here?" he asked softly. Kareth shook her head. "I was made to fight. Not to run. Not to raise a child?" "You're doing both," Aiden said. She looked at him. "And you?" "You could have stayed safe on the outpost. Yet you came with me," he smiled. "Maybe I finally found something worth running for." Kareth didn't answer, but her expression said enough. The silence between them felt peaceful. It's almost like home. That peace ended when the alarms came back. Aiden looked at the radar and felt his stomach drop. They found us again. Kareth moved to the front, scanning the readings. 3 ships. Fast interceptors. They will reach us in minutes. We can't outrun them. Ouch. Then we fight. Aiden stared at her. "In this thing? We don't even have real weapons." "We have me," Kareth said. She opened the weapons locker and pulled out her plasma blade, the one she had hidden since escaping the Dominion. Its light burned blue across the cabin. Aiden frowned. "You can't take on 3 ships alone." Her voice was steady. "I will not let them take my daughter. Or you." Before he could stop her, she opened the maintenance hatch and climbed toward the top compartment, connecting her armor systems into the pod's limited defense grid. Sparks flew as she overrode the safety locks. Aiden followed, grabbing her arm. "There has to be another way." She looked back at him, eyes calm and full of sorrow. "You fixed the machines, Aiden. Let me fix this." He wanted to argue, but there was no time. The first interceptor appeared outside, sleek and silver, firing warning bursts across the hull. The pod shook violently. Kareth strapped herself in and linked to the outer turret. "Hold the course," she said. "I will aim." Aiden gripped the controls. "Try not to blow us up." "Try not to get us killed," she replied, almost smiling. The fight began. Blue fire streaked past them. Kareth's counter shots flared through the dark, cutting one ship's wing. It spun away in smoke. Another came up fast from below, firing plasma bursts that grazed the pod. the cabin filled with smoke and light. Lyra started crying. Aiden shouted over the noise, "We're taking damage." Kareth roared something in her own language, a sound that wasn't anger, but sheer will. She fired again, striking the lead ship's cockpit. It exploded into light. Only one interceptor remained. It circled them like a predator, waiting for a clean shot. Aiden knew they couldn't survive another hit. Kareth climbed down beside him, bleeding from a gash on her shoulder. The last one carries a boarding team. They want the child alive, then they're not getting her. He turned the pod toward a nearby moon, gray, barren, but solid ground. Hang on. They hit the atmosphere hard, the hull screaming as heat built up. The pod slammed into the rocky surface, skidding across dust and stone until it stopped. Silence followed, heavy, breathless silence. Smoke rose from the broken engines. Kareth pushed open the hatch, holding Lyra tight. Aiden followed, coughing through the smoke. The cold air bit at his skin. Above them, the last interceptor descended slowly, its lights cutting across the barren plain. Kareth handed the child to Aiden. "Take her. Hide behind those rocks." He shook his head. "No, we stay together. She cannot fight them," she said firmly. "I can. I won't leave you." Kareth met his eyes. "You already gave me more than I ever thought possible. Now let me finish this." Before he could reply, she turned and walked toward the light. The wind caught her hair, silver strands shining against the black sky. She looked like a figure out of legend alone, proud, unbroken. The Valeri ship landed. 3 armored soldiers stepped out. The leader called out, "Kareth of the 9th Legion, you are ordered to surrender the hybrid." Her voice echoed back, steady and cold. "She is not hybrid. She is my daughter." "You defy the Dominion," the soldier shouted. "I defy cruelty," she answered. They raised their weapons. She ignited her blade. The ground shook as the first shots fired. Blue and red flashes tore through the dust. Aiden held Lyra close, crouched behind the rocks, watching helplessly. He could hear her fighting, the clash of energy, the roar of armor splitting. She moved like lightning, her blade cutting arcs of light through the darkness. 2 soldiers fell. The third managed to shoot her side, sending her stumbling to one knee. Aiden couldn't stay still any longer. He laid the child gently on the ground and grabbed a loose metal bar from the wreckage. He ran into the storm of dust and light. Kareth looked up in shock as he swung the bar at the soldier's helmet. The blow cracked metal. Sparks flew. The soldier turned, furious, ready to strike. Kareth lunged up, driving her blade through his chest. Silence followed. Aiden dropped to his knees beside her. "You're hit." She tried to stand but winced, blood dark against her armor. "It is nothing." He knew it was worse than that. "You saved us again." Her hand touched his cheek. "You saved me first." More ships appeared in the sky, larger ones this time. Aiden felt panic rise, but Kareth shook her head. "Not enemies. Look." Through the clouds, new symbols glowed, Valeri and Human Alliance. A transmission crackled through the radio. "This is Admiral Hayes. We received your distress beacon. Stand down. You're safe." Aiden looked at Kareth, confused. "You sent a beacon?" She nodded weakly. "Before the fight, I sent one message, proof that 2 species can create life, not war." Soldiers from both races landed together. Medics rushed forward. One of them took the child gently, scanning her vitals. Another knelt beside Kareth, checking her wounds. A Valeri officer stepped forward and saluted her, a gesture of honor. "You have done something no warrior has done before," he said quietly. Kareth managed a faint smile. "Then maybe peace will mean something now." Aiden held her hand as they lifted her onto the stretcher. Her eyes fluttered open one last time. "Take care of her," she whispered. "I will," he promised. The medics carried her aboard the rescue craft. Hours later, under the light of a new dawn on that quiet moon, Aiden sat beside Lyra, watching the horizon burn gold. He didn't know what the future would bring, whether peace would hold, whether Kareth would recover, but he knew one thing: humanity had changed that day. Not through weapons or treaties, but through a single act of love that crossed the stars. He looked at the child sleeping beside him and whispered, "Oh, you have her strength, and maybe my stubbornness. The universe will need both." Lyra stirred, her tiny fingers wrapping around his. For a long time, Aiden just sat there, holding that small hand, feeling the faint heartbeat of two worlds joined together. Far above, the ships of both races moved in silence, orbiting the same sky.